to Dubs Talk live from Thrive City, right outside of Chase Center. We're at the Gatehouse. I'm Zena Keita with Dalton Johnson, here to break down the very narrow win by the Warriors, 110-106 against the Portland Trailblazers. The Warriors were able to come home, get a win. Starters weren't able to sit, but they closed it out at the end, and there is a particular player that was influential in being able to do that. And Steph Curry, of course.
Hey, second half, Steph showed up big time. Especially, it's so great to see somebody be. Look, Steph Curry was ice cold in that first half, but then a huge third quarter, 17-point third quarter, 22 versus 31 points in the second half. And life is a lot easier when you stop turning the ball over. We saw in that fourth quarter the Warriors 8 assists, only 2 turnovers compared to what they did the first 3 quarters. I mean, completely night and day different, right? Yeah. Obviously, we saw the spark from the young guys, but just taking care of the ball and then allowing that spark to really shine with the athleticism of Jonathan Kuminga was great to see down the stretch.
Well, I'm happy you brought up Jonathan Kuminga because we have an ultimate performer of the game, BMW performer of the game. That is Jonathan Kuminga. Yes, tonight that was him with the cape on. His heroics in the third quarter really shifted the energy of the arena, but also the success of the Warriors.
Look, Jonathan Kuminga might have been the BMW performer of the night. He felt more like a Mustang or a Porsche going off of a dang giant jump or something. I mean, look at what we're going to see in a little bit, the alley-oop that he had with Draymond Green. That man was floating towards the rim. So very kind of reminiscent of, remember Moses Moody against the Sacramento Kings in that loss where he scores 11 points in the fourth quarter. But this time, Steve Kerr sticks with Jonathan Kuminga and boom, look at that right there.
I like the
crowd
right there.
And, I mean, his whole head is over the rim right there, it feels like. He is up, he's getting after it. Chris Paul talking to him after and really lauded the professionalism of Jonathan Kuminga. So, again, this is where I brought up the Moses Moody situation because Moses was out of the rotation that night. That really kind of got us all talking, saying he needs more minutes and that you can't do that. Steve Kerr took big accountability, big responsibility for that. This time you see Jonathan Kuminga, he was not in the rotation tonight. He was not supposed to play. Comes in with the final 4+ minutes in the third quarter, does not sit at all in the fourth quarter. So talk about stay ready. We usually say that with Moses Moody. Jonathan Kuminga was Mr. Stay Ready tonight.
He definitely was. He was on the bench for the most part. His knee was up. He was kind of he was trying to get his teammates going and just being able to support them. But then he really stepped up. And there was something that I noticed in the beginning of the first half when he was sitting on the bench. Steph Curry, after a timeout, had a little moment with him and a little exchange with him and gave him a little pat on the back and encouraged him. And that leadership from Steph Curry, of course, we see what he's able to do from a scoring perspective, what he's able to do from a defensive perspective, and just being able to give a surge to the Warriors. But he gave, I think, Jonathan Kuminga a surge as well. Just a little bit of affirmation, like just, I don't know what he said. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to quote him. But it was something to get him going. And so I want to talk about Steve Kerr, Stephen Curry, and what he was able to contribute as well. Because as you mentioned, he was cold in the first half. And then all of a sudden, it was splashing in the second.
Oh, completely. I mean, it was night and day, like I said, from first half to second half. And the Blazers, they did a really good job, especially early on in that first half, of putting a lot of pressure on Steph Curry and the Warriors scorers in general. So you saw in that first half, Steph was really just trying to give kind of the kill shot from three-point range against the Blazers. Wasn't attacking, wasn't really feeling out the defense, but he got going and really started, like we saw right here, downhill. Yes, Steph Curry is the greatest three-point shooter of all time. But when he's on the move, when he's playing downhill, that's actually when he's really at his best. And you can see the spark that it gave the Warriors, that it gave the crowd. He gives a night-night right there, but in the third quarter,
I love the night-night.
Yeah, of course. We all love the night-night here. But in the third quarter, he turned to the Warriors crowd and was going, let's go, let's get it going. He could feel the Warriors could not lose this game against such a young, inexperienced Blazers team. This is a win that the Warriors really needed before getting on the road.
For sure. And when you talk about that injection of energy, it was that lineup. There was Stephen Curry, Dario Saric, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, and I believe Chris Paul that went on a run. They went on a 10-0 run, ended up with a 12-5. 12 points scored, 5 points allowed, plus 7 in the end of that third. And that's what really injected the arena. You just saw them fully immerse themselves into the game again, because before, it was dead in there. And so the Warriors definitely had a second half rise. I would say like that was their moment. And when you think about the Warriors, there is that one quarter, right? There's usually one quarter that they kind of fall behind. And tonight, it was earlier on. It was that first quarter with multiple turnovers. I'm curious, when you look at the second half and you think about the elevation of play, outside of Jonathan Kuminga, I thought they also attacked the basket well. Right? I noticed the 10 of 11. What did you see from a perspective of just being able to take advantage of Portland's fouling?
Yeah, they definitely took advantage, and the fouling was huge. I mean, the Warriors were really saved by the whistle a ton tonight, took advantage of that. We talk so much about usually the Warriors are the team that's going, God, we got to get to the free throw line. We're doing too many fouling. But it was the opposite tonight where the Warriors, Steph Curry, in the second half, like we just talked about, really took advantage of that. But that's kind of where I go back to Jonathan Kuminga as far as the attacking the basket. And that really led to less turnovers, more assists, better ball movement. Because of Jonathan Kuminga's athleticism, it just opened everything up. It opened those lanes up to be able to attack. Because when you have someone whose whole head can be above the rim on an alley-oop like that, it just opens the sea up for the entire Warriors offense. So I think he was the key, and I don't want to just focus on one player by any means, but I think his skill set and the way it shined as quick as it did allowed everything else, and a really good domino effect for the Warriors as well.
For sure. Jonathan Kuminga was one of those players that was very much capitalizing on the fact that he knew you go inside, they're going to hurt you. There was another person that capitalized on as well, and that was Moses Moody. And Moses Moody, both ends of the court tonight, really making the veteran calls in the way he positioned his body on defense, the way he attacked. He was one of the only ones truly going into the paint, going at the bodies of Portland all night, and truly realizing, hey, they're young just like me. Right? They want to be able to run, and they want to be able to, well, guess what? I'm going to run with them, and I'm going to score on them.
Yeah, look, he was 1 for 4 from three-point range tonight with good looks, and they weren't off shots by any means. But look at the attacking, as you brought up, as we see right here. There's a really nice three-point shot from Moses Moody, but the first two clips are what really stood out to me because he's being guarded by a rookie in Scoot Henderson, who obviously less experienced, but a great athlete in Scoot Henderson. In the second clip in particular where he goes left, all Moses Moody uses is a split second of hesitation to go, maybe I'm going to be a three-point threat. Nope, by you. So that little bit of hesitation for someone who's maybe even more athletic in Scoot Henderson is what really stood out to me. I mean, Moses Moody, we talk about Jonathan Kuminga taking advantage of opportunities. That's what Moses Moody has done now on a consistent basis. This is 4 straight games of Moses Moody scoring 10 or more points. On the season now, he's done that 10 times this season. He only did that 12 times all of last season. In this 4-game stretch, it's efficiency, right? 54.1% from the field. It's the little things that he always gets applauded for, the maturity, right? He took 2 more charges tonight. But look, the box score numbers are looking just as good as all those little things too as well.
Exactly. Hustle plays for sure. Moses is at the podium. Let's hear what he had to say about tonight's win.
Moses, Steve was talking about how he feels that from here on out, or at least for the time being, rotations, lineups, everything is going to be from a night-to-night basis, just depending on who's playing well and what you guys need. Everyone always talks about it, like you just stay ready. But at the same time, is that difficult to find any continuity, any real connection when everything is a bit fragmented, especially a quarter through the way of the season?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the way it always is, you know, even if you do have a set rotation, anything can happen any night. So, I mean, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, you see the situation, you see everybody playing well, so that's kind of how it goes.
Hi, Moses. Jonathan was just in here and was discussing just how, you know, sometimes he doesn't know when he'll be in the game, and then tonight he comes in with, I think, 4:45 maybe left in the third, and he said it's part of the job of the young guys to stay ready and do that and bring energy. And how much pride do all of you kind of take in doing that, not knowing what each night will look like?
Yeah, no situation is going to be perfect the way that you think about it, the way you want it to be. So, everybody's given an opportunity. We're all in the NBA, so it's opportunity after opportunity. So you go out there every night and use that whenever that happens, however many minutes you get, whatever the opportunity is that night, but just don't take for granted that it's an opportunity every night.
Where it could be difficult to deal with the differences in consistency with lineups, it also seems to kind of, especially here, help you guys for you being in the Sacramento game late and giving a spark to the team. Tonight, it was JK. Does that at all, I guess the perspective side of that, the brighter side of it not being consistent, is it kind of a boost to know that one of the younger guys is about to come off the bench and possibly give us a big spark? Because that has seemed to be consistent throughout the season.
Mm-hmm. It's a hard thing to do, like in being in that situation. It feels like you're back against the wall or whatever. Like you don't know what's going on, what's next or whatever. But it's an opportunity. That's oftentimes when you do your best, or when you're the most focused, most locked in, when you do feel it and when you are in that space. So that could be part of it. Just capitalizing on opportunity. And I guess, like I said, it's a difficult thing to do. So it's always commendable when a player does.
Already at break. We're moving fast here. We're going to come back after this and talk about Draymond Green's performance tonight. Don't go anywhere. It's Dubs Talk Live.
Dubs Talk Live is presented by Mancini Sleep World. Visit Mancini Sleep World during the year-end clearance event or visit sleepworld.com.
YouTube fam. How you guys feel? How you feel? 17 turnovers and a poor shooting night made this a close game. Rebel to Sounds.
You ain't wrong.
That's exactly right.
Again, the turnovers right away were kind of the one things where you're just going, really? Mm-hmm. Like, you just got back home. They had 3 days without games. Mm-hmm. So you would expect, you have Chris Paul back, you have Andrew Wiggins back, just being more crisp early on, right? So I think that it's great to get this win. Great to see what Jonathan Kuminga did. Great to see second half Steph. But there is still so much to clean up from the first 3 quarters that the Warriors got to figure out in a hurry. I'm
actually interested that you said that, because Otis Bird just mentioned he's actually a little concerned about the 3-day breaks, in the sense of, the Warriors have another one after the OKC on Friday night. It's interesting because it's true. Sometimes you can have too much of a break and you're chilling and you're not,
lose your rhythm.
You lose your rhythm, you lose your flow, whatever it is. But then you also need recuperation, right? You need time to recuperate
Especially
and get better.
Especially when you're an aging team like this. When it comes to Chris Paul, who's coming off an injury, Andrew Wiggins coming back from injury, all that, right? Yeah, for sure.
It's a big thing. Aging is real. It's just like I'm still stuck on that. It's very real. So I'm in the middle, right? I also am like, 3 days rest, is that too much time off? And then also, you need the time.
You need the balance, for sure.
You got to be able to have the balance.
Yeah,
we'll see. It's going to be really interesting to see what comes out of the next break.
Yeah.
To see if this actually is a bad thing, because those things have playoff implications when you think about it.
It shouldn't be a bad thing.
Correct. All right, we're going. Welcome back to Dubs Talk Live. Zena, Keita here with Dalton Johnson, breaking down the Warriors' win, very close win, against the Portland Trailblazers. The Warriors were able to capitalize on their front court to help them, especially on the rebounding end. That was one of the things that was definitely keeping the Warriors in the game. They had 15 offensive rebounds throughout the night, 21 second chance points. And one of the people that was doing a little bit of that was Draymond Green. And I think that when you evaluate and you look at Draymond Green's contributions to tonight's game, you kind of go, I'm not sure. Where do I land? In the sense of, he was incredibly aggressive in the paint, being able to defend and being able to clean things up as well on the offensive end. But he also had some significant turnovers. And I think that when you evaluate and you look at Draymond Green's contributions to tonight's game, you kind of go, I'm not sure. Where do I land? In the sense of, he was incredibly aggressive in the paint, being able to defend and being able to clean things up as well on the offensive end. But he also had some And so it was kind of like a give and take. You loved his offensive aggression, but at the same time, there were certain aspects of his game that were a little rushed, and he had some turnovers like this one here. Just the, not seeing the defense and not being able to, get that going. So it was like back and forth. He cleaned it up. What do you think of his game tonight, Dalton?
It kind of comes back to the balance of kind of finding the right kind of pace when it comes to the Warriors, when it comes to Draymond Green, a team that does have Draymond, Steph Curry, but also Chris Paul, where they don't want to be last in pace like they were coming into this night, but they don't want to be first either. So they're trying to find that balancing point in between. Yeah. And I think that's where you need to find the best of Draymond too as well, where, he was pushing the pace. He had the energy. First double-double tonight, 1 assist shy of a triple-double. But at the same time, there were some silly turnovers. And that has hurt the Warriors, as we know. So I think that this entire season, it's just going to be the balance, whether it comes to the veterans and the youngsters, when it comes to the pace, pushing it and also slowing things down, all of that, because right now the balance is a little bit out of whack when it comes to that. So a good, not great Draymond Green by any means, someone where he's going to go back and look at his turnovers and go, I got to be better, right? There was an early one right away where Steph Curry wasn't even looking, but he's trying to just push the ball, get him going like he's so used to, finding so many years of success with Steph and just getting off to the races. So it's a balancing point that I think is just taking a little bit longer than even Steve Kerr or the Warriors expected right now.
Yeah, I agree with you in that balance of being able to say, do we want to run free, or do we want to be a little bit more consolidated in the half court and be balanced? But one of the things that I love about Draymond's game right now is that he is aggressive. There was one split action that he was supposed to have where Steph was setting up his defender, getting ready to go off the screen, and he turns and realizes that Draymond's not turning around for a dribble handoff. He's faced up and shot a three. Now, he didn't make it, but that is the type of shot that he can make. He's been able to make. He's been shooting really well throughout the season, and that is whether it's turning and facing and shooting a three or turning and facing and faking the handoff and driving, you're seeing him do a lot more offensive, aggressive type plays. I want to know, do you think that this works within the offense for him to be more aggressive as an offensive player for the Warriors?
I think it should, and it has overall. I think his offense has been very good. You look at the shooting, obviously, he's taking shots that you want Draymond Green to take. Even when he's missing a handful of these three-pointers, you're okay with those because, number one, he's shown a very high success rate this season with his three-pointer. I go back to the clip that he had against the Clippers, actually, with James Harden, where James Harden is actually saying, hey, your shot looks really good right now. Like, what's going on? And Draymond Green just says, feeling good. I'm not thinking about it. Right. And I think if Draymond Green's not in his head, not taking the extra time to, do I want to shoot this? Do I want to pass this? And just being in the flow, being in the rhythm, let it go. Yeah. Let it fly. I'm fine with that. So I think his offense in general has been very good. But it is weird sometimes. Even tonight, you saw some post-ups of Draymond Green where you're going, like that. Is this different? Is this new? Is this who the Warriors are right now? So whether it's Draymond, whether it's Chris Paul, whether it's Jonathan Kuminga, who's so much different than both of them, I just think it's going to take a little more time than they even might have expected. And I hate to kind of repeat myself when it comes to that, but even Draymond might need to find some different wrinkles than he's had in the past when it comes to his offense.
It's like he's almost evolving, but like evolving back to the Draymond that was when he first was drafted, because this is vintage Draymond in the way that he's been able to face up. Well, I want to continue the conversation around the front court because I think tonight's game definitely exposed and put a spotlight on the difference between the young and athletic front court versus Dario Saric, the more veteran, the more experienced, and Kevon Looney front court. While both of them were able to bring different elements to the game that helped the Warriors, Dario Saric obviously doing his thing in terms of cleaning up the glass and then also stretching the offense, he had 5 turnovers. He was definitely a liability a little bit on the offensive end for the Warriors. And then Kevon Looney being able to try and drive against these big, athletic, long players, it was a struggle for him, right? Because they were fast-paced and fast-moving, and that was where he was able to capitalize, was being able to clean up the glass from a defensive rebounding perspective. So I'm curious, when you look at Dario Saric and Kevon Looney, I think that's another one where you got to find some balance and where they can capitalize, especially playing against these young, big forwards.
on paper, this looked like a game that would really benefit Jonathan Kuminga's skill set, right?
Yeah.
Being how aggressive he is, being how athletic he is, being how long he is. So it didn't surprise me that once he came in the game that, his talents really shined, obviously, and not as much for Kevon Looney, for Dario Saric. So I just think matchup-wise, it made sense for Jonathan Kuminga. It made sense also why it might not be such a great game for those veteran big men in Kevon Looney and Dario Saric, right? So I think Steve Kerr is really starting to understand that he's not going to have set rotations.
Yeah.
That it is going to be game by game. That his buzzwords are going to have to be things like flexibility, being fluid, all of that, right? So I think that when it comes to Kevon Looney, who he trusts so much and has done so many good things for the Warriors in the past, when it comes to Dario Saric, who's his game, it just makes sense that Steve Kerr really likes his game, that he stretches the floor. He's such a smart player. He has some playmaking without being a crazy athlete. That, they're going to find a lot of success, but there's going to be games where you might only need 15, 16, 17 minutes, and you're going to need 17 to 20 minutes of Jonathan Kuminga instead. So I think that this game, you look at the tape, is a very good shining example of flexibility and fluidity being more important than having such a set mindset.
Right. You look at the way that they both ended up 2 of 6 for Kevon Looney from the floor. So he was really struggling to be able to find his shot. Went 2 of 2 from the free throw line. So being able to get fouled, but the shining part for him, 8 rebounds, right? And the 2 offensive rebounds. And then Dario Saric, like you said, 2 of 3 from the 3. That's his bread and butter. That's what he can contribute, is that stretch, 4 of 7 from the floor, 6 rebounds as well. But like we mentioned, it was 4 turnovers rather than 5. So I want to talk about the fact that wasn't, the turnovers and maybe some of the missed opportunities at the basket weren't really the woes for tonight. When you think about the Warriors, you usually think about threes, okay? And tonight, the Warriors finished three-point percentage at a .294, 29%. This is the first win they've had with under 43% from three-point shooting this season. They do not do this. At one point throughout this game, they were down to 12.5%, right? Like, this was not a really great shooting night for them. They could not find a shot. And I want to talk to you a little bit about what was causing that. From an offensive perspective, not being able to just find opportunities, catch and shoot opportunities, being off balance, turning the ball over like we see here. What was going on for the Warrior shot?
Yeah, you look at the Matisse Thybulles of the world, the Scoot Hendersons, Shaedon Sharpe, that the Blazers have these guys who are very active defenders, who can go from point A to point B really well, can jump in the lanes very well. And I think that they were just aggressive and on the Warriors and really were able to kind of seek out that motion offense in the first half especially. And that's where you finally start to see in the second half the downhill, the lanes start to open up more, get to the free throw line even more, even for a Steph Curry. And again, we're repeating it when it comes to Jonathan Kuminga, but you just need that kind of spark against a team like this when you see someone like Klay Thompson who struggled tonight. He did struggle. Andrew Wiggins, he struggled as well. They each played 27 minutes. So I just think that throughout the course of the game, especially that third and fourth quarter, Steve Kerr did a really good job of kind of seeing the integrity of the game and seeing that you need a Moses Moody, that you need Jonathan Kuminga right now, and finding balance throughout. That only Draymond Green and Steph Curry were the only ones who played over 30 minutes, and that's okay.
And that's okay. That happens. Well, now we'll see what the Warriors are going to be able to do for the next game. They're going on the road, this time against another young, tall, athletic team that also took them down to the buzzer. We'll talk about the look ahead when we come back on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere. Dubs Talk Live. All righty. Trying to see what our fam on YouTube are talking about. Giving some credit to Myers for Myers and our current GM, Dan Levy, for finding some really great talent,
Yeah,
obviously.
oh, for sure, yeah.
I'm curious. I thought tonight, too. I'm curious about a lot of things, by the way. I say that often. But I wanted to know why, and we won't know the answer to this unless we ask Steve Kerr, but I thought tonight would have been a really great game for TJD as
Yeah,
well.
oh, for sure.
You know,
Yeah, for
when you
sure.
think about the youth, you think about someone that can go at these bodies, they're fouling left and
Yep.
right. I thought this was an opportunity for him to be able to break through and use his athleticism.
Even in spurts.
In spurts,
and that's where
exactly.
you want to see it. When I'm going to use the same words over and over when it comes to the flexibility and the fluidity of it. And I think Steve is just kind of coming to grips in reality with that. That, yeah, even if it's 3 minutes, TJD might really, really help there, give you that rim protection, give you that rim runner for a second, right? So I just think that that's going to kind of be the reality that we're going to start seeing more and more, that maybe Kuminga's maybe it's not his night. Okay, we need him real quick.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
things like that. TJD's out of it. Hey, Looney's having a little bit of trouble. Let's go 3 minutes real quick. So, yes, I thought on paper, too, definitely a TJD game. I still think that he's going to have an impact much sooner than later.
I agree. There's got to be a give and take. And the thing is, the season is long.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
A lot
And we've already
to
talked
go.
about our team is older. They'll need some rest at some point. So, alrighty, folks, we're gonna talk about who they're gonna play. I hope you guys are excited. I'm excited for the Phoenix game.
Oh, yeah.
That's gonna be a good matchup after we saw Phoenix and the Lakers the other night. Welcome back to Dubs Talk Live. Let's talk about what the Warriors have to face coming up. They're getting back on the road. They've got a game on Friday against OKC. Don't know if you guys have recovered from that Chet Holmgren last-second shot, but here's an opportunity for the Warriors to redeem themselves, and then they're going to go and continue their road trip going out to Phoenix. KD and LeBron put on a show in the in-season tournament quarterfinals. Definitely the greats going up against each other. Steph Curry will have a chance to give his show against the Phoenix, and then they're going to continue on to the Clippers again. But I am very excited for this OKC matchup.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is a redemption tour a little bit.
Big time.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, you brought up the Chet Holmgren three, the fact that the Warriors have struggled against this team, obviously, this season. And you can go, okay, they just played a young, long, athletic team in the Blazers, but the Thunder are in a different world than the Blazers right now. The Blazers are on that rebuild that the Thunder were for a while. The Thunder have reached the next stage.
That's a really great point.
So,
Yeah.
so I really want to see how the Warriors can adjust quickly, because the talent level, the star power is much different from Portland to OKC.
I'm also all about the drama. I still remember Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's Instagram post, so maybe that'll be some motivation. Zena, Keita, Dalton Johnson, thanking you for joining us on Dubs Talk Live. Appreciate you joining us. We'll be back on Friday. Don't miss us. Good night. Sturchley, Kuminga is 2 days removed from the best game of his life.
2 days removed from the best game of his life, really?
I'm not sure what the motivation for that is, but
I think, okay, I think.
I'm not against it. I think he's capable.
Our YouTube friend, I think that you might mean that well, 2 games previous, Steve Kerr did say that was his best game of the season. So you look at going from a best game of the season in a game I believe he played like 23 plus minutes. The next game he played about 15, and then he was supposed to be out of the rotation tonight.
Yeah.
So another thing where you're going, okay, the mixed signals, we got to figure this out. It's hard for a 21-year-old, Jonathan Kuminga, a 21-year-old, Moses Moody. And I think the big thing with Jonathan Kuminga tonight is the fact that he said at the podium, hey, if this was the first time, I wouldn't know what to do. But this is year 3. They're always on a deep roster. They've won a championship, so he's a little more ready than in the past and a little more accepting as well. It's gonna be hard. This is a former top 10 pick, a guy who has crazy amount of talent. So it's hard whenever you're out of the rotation or on the bench, of course. But I think the fact that he is not a rookie anymore, or even in year 2, to have those first 2 seasons where you have been in and out of the rotation really helped him for tonight to be able to be like, I'm not expected to play tonight, but boom, in an instant, his energy and his impact was obviously seen and felt.
It really is a mental game. I mean, I appreciate him saying that. Like, I know what to expect, you know, and that allows you to have that maturity and to have that composure when you want to get in, and you know you've been working hard at practice and you've been doing the things that you need to in the previous games, and thinking that you know you'll get that opportunity against a team that suits you. So the fact that he stayed ready, I think, is another leap in the maturity and just to be able to showcase that he's a professional. And he understands the business. He understands what he needs to do in order to show up. And I give him kudos for that, for staying ready.
Oh, and he could have pressed. He could have taken shots outside of his zone.
He could have tried to do too much.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
he played his game. The energy on the defensive side went to his offense as well. He was attacking, alley-oops, down in the post. So it was all his game, nothing outside of it. I think if he got outside of his game, the way his leash was tonight, might have been back on the bench.
Yeah.
But no. He played the game that needed to be played for tonight for that win. So I think that's really why Steve Kerr goes, how he couldn't take him out of the game. So if Jonathan Kuminga keeps giving him reasons to stay on the floor, Steve Kerr is going to have to reward that. And I think that's the message after tonight that's really starting to be pushed.
Well, last thing I'll say before we wrap up, Steve Kerr did say tonight that he's starting to realize that he's going to have to switch it up, that maybe the set starting lineup that he's got isn't going to be the thing that's going to carry them through the season. So pay attention to that. Start looking at the lineup, start paying attention to the closing lineups, all of the above. It seems like Steve Kerr might have turned a corner. All right, folks, we appreciate you joining us on Dubs Talk Live. We love you, YouTube fam. Have a great evening.